Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. It's good to see you again. And I guess my own take on it is that we're not seeing a never-ending increase. We are recovering from a massive decrease in disengagement in the region. It's not been that many years ago, 6, and because of that decrease, we now see Iraq in the throes of a civil war, Syria in the throes of a civil war, Yemen in the throes of a civil war, the complete area destabilized, making a whole number of things even harder to deal with, plus distancing to our allies in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, not to mention other coalition partners on a whole number of other affairs. And so I tend to disagree with some of my colleagues here in that view. With regard to collateral damage, no one cares more about civilian casualties than the United States military. No one. No one takes more pain or more effort to prevent the needless loss of life. No one has the systems in place to prevent the things that we do in our targeting systems and everything else. And we know about our own errors because it is us who expose them, who discover them, and to try to refine them. So before we get in a bashing of those that are in uniform and needless loss of civilian casualties, or somehow suggesting that we are causing more civilian deaths than the Russians, I challenge that, I defy that, I reject that. I don't think that it reflects anything to our practices as a nation, or certainly our men and women in uniform. General Votel, you spoke of the need to use the other instruments of national power. There's a number of areas that we obviously see a need to do that. You've spoken to a lot of them, but I guess one of the most troubling things that gets the least amount of attention is Yemen. And as we would see the Gulf of Aden now slip into a possible future Hormuz Strait, there's serious implication with that. We've got 60% of the Yemen population now that is malnourished. We got opportunities to do a lot of good things with President Hadi and other efforts. The foreign military sales being crucial, the foreign engagement being crucial. If you could design it where you engage the other instruments of national power to support the coalition efforts as well as the CENTCOM efforts, what would it look like? What would you want that other engagement to be other than military?
Thanks, Congressman. I think that certainly one of the things that has to be addressed, as you kind of highlighted here, is we have to resolve the civil conflict that's taken place right there. That creates an environment that makes it extraordinarily difficult for us to has made it difficult for us to be persistent in our efforts against Al Qaeda. It's caused us to break relationships we had with Yemeni forces that we developed over a course of years, and it's given rise to the threat that we've already talked about this morning in the Bab el-Mandeb in the Red Sea, an area where we have 60 to 70 ships go through every day. Not just U.S., but international ships go through there. So I think that is important. So I think the thing that we have to continue to press on is we have to press in our diplomatic efforts and to resolve that conflict as quickly as we can. I think that will help. I think set the table. There are perhaps some things that we can assist with on the military side to bring that forward without becoming enmeshed into a civil conflict here. We should consider those things. I will tell you, I've talked with our ambassador there on a regular basis. He's excellent. He is extraordinarily engaged here, and I just think we have to continue to press in this particular area. And this is an area where we will need the Department of State and others to help us move through.
Do you still see a base of support? A lot of relationship has been developed for decades, and much is lost if we see the things tip toward the Houthi rebels and, as you'd mentioned, al-Qaeda gaining leverage. With engagement with the population and assisting and feeding them and other things, could you speak to some of that?
I do, and I would highlight to you that we have some very good partners in the area. Certainly Saudi Arabia on the edges here, and the United Arab Emirates have been extraordinary for us, and they have good relationships here. So I do see the ability to reestablish some of these partnerships again.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.